All right. So, welcome to a new episode of DojoCast. I'm Sensei Mish, and I have Jason Eastman with me of Armor Combat Systems.
Hello, everyone.
In Salem. Before we get into our little discussion today, if you are not following me on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, do so now. Just get on there, search for Sensei Mish or DojoCast, and you get on there. So, and I might even put up little blurbs now or at the end, wherever I decide to put in the edit. So, Jason.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm good. It's been an interesting journey to get here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Mic a little bit closer.
Sorry. It's been an interesting journey to get here.
Right on.
Yeah.
So this is you sent me some pictures and you've sent me video.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've been down to your dojo.
Yeah.
I love the school. I love these walls.
Thank you.
In fact, this camera will get at least part of these walls.
Oh, yeah. Good.
These walls are cool. Modular.
Yeah.
Doors. I know you've been telling me about these for a couple of years,
Yep.
and it's actually cool to see them up and
functional.
using them.
Yeah.
So
I figured with modular knife and other things, wanted to have modular structures.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I looked into Legos first, the Everblocks, the big ones. They would have been probably in the neighborhood for 1,000 square feet. If I wanted to do a maze, about 30,000. 7 walls here ran me about 24,000.
Oh.
And it took them about 3 or 4 months to make them and ship them from Britain.
Oh, cool.
Now I didn't have to I could order one, and they're about $2,700 a wall, give or take. But obviously, you need more than one to make things happen. That was about the extent of my budget. That was it. I maxed out my card, and just went from there. But opened a school. Didn't expect to open one in Salem. I looked actually extensively in Portland and just kept hitting dead ends. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I had a guy. He wanted me to rent his building, and there was a Big Five next door. He says, "Oh no, there's a gym that's going to move in there next month." And this was last May. I looked into that, and I drove by last week, and Big Five's still there. Yes. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Now, are you out of Salem? Is that where you're originally? Yep. Okay. So.
Yep. I have a residence here, and yeah.
What kind of moved you to open up a school?
I love training. I've been doing it since 1986, and I wanted to do something that I could explore concepts that I've always had in the back of my head, but structure, time constraints, other people's schools. You just can't go into somebody else's school and say, "Hey, let's do it this way." They kind of don't like that.
Yeah.
Or let's try it this way and see if it really fails horribly. And I've had a few of those interesting experiences where things just didn't work out. So, and that's something where, like if you look back over here, you've got stairs and things, and we did a video up where it had somebody boxing going up the stairs and the other person holding focus mitts, and kicks are out the window. You need your feet not to fall down the stairs,
right,
for either party, and also narrow hallways, which means that you negate numbers right there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I like the setup, the walls, because I think it was one of the early videos that you posted. And I saw that one. I was like, ooh, what an interesting concept.
Yeah.
It's like, and I like how you're using your facility to its fullest, because in real close quarter combat, you don't have this wide open dojo.
Correct.
You don't have a 10 by 10 sparring circle.
Correct.
You're making it a little bit more real.
We have also generally, from what I've seen, is most schools teach in what I call an open format, where you can see everyone, the instructor, regardless of what's being taught. You can see everyone at all times. So when somebody says, "Okay, imagine somebody sneaking up behind you and grabbing you or attacking you from the side or something," yes, you can imagine that, but there are limits to that.
Right.
And the structures we found out can be an ally. The doorways especially if somebody's attacking with a stick or anything like that, you'll find that, there's certain lines they can't attack you with because the wall is preventing that. So where you choose to make your stand, like let's just say you went into a structure, it's like, okay, I can't run anymore. This is where I stand my ground. This is where we start finding out, if I'm back too far, people can flood in, and I lose all my advantage. But if I stay in the doorway within a certain range, I'm good to go. I mean, I'm making the best of a bad spot.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great concept.
Yeah.
I do. So you say you've been training since what? You said 86?
Yep, that's when I started. I had a coupon in the mail for 2 weeks free for Al Rubin's Kung Fu Sansu School in Riverside, California. I
Okay.
was 14, and did that, and me and this other kid I knew down the street, and he lasted because it was 2 classes a week, and he lasted 1 or 2 classes the first week. He didn't even finish out his second free week. So, but yeah.
I take it you're kind of hooked from there.
Oh yeah, I was because I was always moving around and always the new kid. I was like, wow, this is something I can actually take with me wherever I go, and it's a companion in a regard. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Now you say you were moving around. Was it a military family? Or
No, just like I did 3 different schools in 4th grade because Mom moved a lot.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just one of those latchkey kid, move around. I'm surprised I didn't wind up in jail, honestly, because I had almost no parental guidance or supervision, and that might have been a good thing considering, some of the choices that some of the adults around me saw make. So maybe that was one of those, well, I don't want to turn out like that person because, they're on their way to jail kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that speaks well to the martial arts in general.
Yeah.
Because if you find a good instructor, a good mentor, discipline, you can stay on the right track.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like for me, I wanted to get into martial arts earlier when my parents were like, "Oh no, you'll get hurt," and I was like, "It's the martial arts, of course I'm going to get hurt."
How early were we talking about doing it?
Around your age, about
Okay.
14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
And my parents were divorced, and my father, his wife's brother was a judo guy,
Okay.
and his father was a judo guy. So he's like, "Oh well, if Jason, you can take judo if you want to get into martial arts." My dad said, "You can take judo," and I was like, "Okay, great. Well, Jason does it, and Jason's pretty cool, but I really don't want to roll around on the ground with people. I want to hit people."
Right.
And it's like, well, no. Now I could take soccer, which is kind of funny how
Yeah.
you fast forward in the future and you're like, oh, soccer creates concussions, but you can't take and of course football does too, but I couldn't play football, I couldn't do karate or taekwondo or anything like that. So I didn't actually start until I was 18.
Oh, wow.
But it was one of those where I just I'd always wanted to do it, and I just finally did it. But it was just finding the right path,
That's not easy all the time.
Yeah, and I was that angry youngster of divorced parents, and so really I got my frustration out, and I found that martial arts gave me that discipline and a little bit of focus, and doing it as much as I've done it, it's like, oh well, just like you can't just get together with somebody to train or whatever. So it was one of those. It's like, okay, well, I need to find something outside of my classes.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I started, teaching.
Sure.
Just because it's like, oh, okay, my buddy wants to learn this.
Yeah.
And what do they say? The best way to learn is to teach what you know.
Yeah.
And it solidifies your knowledge. And
It also shows you where there's some real big holes too. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I started in Taekwondo, and I have a friend who says Taekwondo is like kindergarten, or no, this is Taekwondo. Everyone has to go to kindergarten, and I don't mean to knock the Taekwondo community, but it's funny because it is a sport, but my mind is not sport.
Right.
I'm not I'm not competitive that way. I'm competitive to save my life, and so it's like. And that's why when Pressure Points came around and Ruku Kempo, I was like, this is more real than the sport stuff. And so that's kind of that's where I moved on. And then of course it, runs into the stick stuff and Remy Priestess and then Dan Anderson and then, Bram Frank, which is how I got to know you.
That's true.
And so on and so forth. It's just kind of how it grows.
Now, when back in the 80s, when I was taking Kung Fu, there wasn't a lot of cross training.
Yeah.
You didn't go and train with the wrestle guys or the boxing guys or the karate guys. Everybody kind of thumbed their nose down at the other schools. A few years before I started, there were, I guess, stories of actually fights at the school with other guys coming from other systems, and certain karate's better, and guys actually got into it.
Right.
You don't see that anymore. First of all, the laws have changed, and I remember hearing a story about one of the guys that one of my predecessors was told by a judge, if you bite off one more man's nose for flipping you off, you're going to jail. And the fact that that was even a thing, the first time now, you're going to jail.
Right.
So it's a very different world.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And now as we record this, I think we're roughly about 6 feet apart. So we are, the whole social distancing,
Yes.
because as of this recording, it's, we got the whole coronavirus thing
yes.
going on. But
Chinese flu.
yeah. Make of it as you will.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm still teaching private classes, and I came down here. You're still teaching a private class because it's just, it's under the 10-person minimum.
Right.
And I get it. I know it's not a joke, but
Sure.
it is. You don't want to spread.
It seems a little silly because we can go to a grocery store where there's 500 people.
Right.
And
but I mean, even setting this up, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I work in a hospital. I don't have the flu, or I don't have the flu, but I don't show any symptoms. You don't show any symptoms.
Right.
We're 6 feet apart. We're good.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's that strange time where, and even though we are a free country, we can kind of do what we want. We're almost giving up our rights to help the community stay safe.
How do you think the introverts are taking this?
Oh, I saw a meme the other day. It was really funny. It was like the quarantine is, or the self quarantine is put up and advertised, and it's like introverts be like, oh goody, or introverts to extroverts, this is how we spend our time, or something.
Right.
It was kind of funny. It's
Right.
just like, yes, I get to stay. Or or like even a shirt like
Sure.
introvert avoiding people
Sure.
since
Right.
since it was
Before
cool.
it was cool. Yeah. Now I was also thinking how the hypochondriacs react to this, and then you have your more extreme elements of society like your doorknob lickers.
Oh my gosh.
Now this might be their golden moment. I mean,
Well, I was on Facebook the other day, and there was this video that just kind of popped up, and and it was this group of people, and I don't know when the video was.
you're talking about the ice cream lickers.
It wasn't. It was a lollipop, and it
Okay.
just started off, and one girl takes it out of her mouth and then steps aside and gives it to another person, and they were all mouthing this lollipop, and I'm like, okay, so that's gross, but I don't know when it was filmed, but I can only assume it was filmed recently.
Sure.
Because it was
Or like
trending.
the Instagram girl that licked the toilet seat. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah. A friend of mine showed me that, and I was like, dude, I wouldn't even do that if there wasn't without even an epidemic. But see, here's the thing is that, even this is going to be edited.
Yeah.
We have good audio because
Sure.
I'm recording it on the computer, and, we've got the video, and we're going to flip back and forth.
Right.
Even when shooting Q-Show Corner, it's all edited.
Right.
So when you look, say, you take that gal that's licking the toilet, we don't know.
She probably cleaned the crap out of that, literally.
Totally. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
you have, it's a mini Hollywood.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it's like, okay, it's like, Mish, I dare you to do this and put it on video. It's like, okay, well, get out the Sandy wipes,
Right.
and I'm going to clean that. I'm going to wipe that down. I'm going to let it dry, and I'm going to wipe it again, and I'll take out some Lysol and spray and let it sit.
And
wipe.
if we're for effect, maybe we'll put some chocolate sauce on it.
Yeah,
Or something,
and then
Right.
and only
Right.
then would I do it.
Right.
Or maybe even just buy a brand new toilet seat.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
So when I see that, it's like, okay, there is that chance that person can be like the dumbest person on the planet.
Sure.
Or it's all for show.
Yeah.
And it's, there were precautions taken and all that. But now I don't know how
Right.
influential this person is.
Sure.
But, if somebody who is a huge influencer does it, and then all their little
Followers,
people,
yeah.
all their followers are like, oh my gosh, she did it, so I'm going to do it. Well, they're not taking those precautions. So it's like, okay, fine. You made a funny video,
Sure.
boom. But it's like, no, there's, who else is that going to be affecting?
Well, think about that when we say, like, share, follow. I mean,
Right.
it's almost like a quasi cult in terminology when we're talking about social media. And let's face it, the people who follow cults, okay, when I was younger, when I was a kid, I attended a church called The Walk.
Okay.
And it was just this side of being the Jim Jones. Yes.
Okay.
And if you were a member of The Walk, you were part of the body. And it was okay. Now imagine a Christian church that didn't follow the Bible because they considered it a dead document.
Okay.
So people who were Christians from other faiths couldn't even argue Scripture because they said that's And so the Apostle Stevens, I think, is the guy who was running it. This was a strange place.
Yes.
Yeah. They even had an off-site house off church grounds that people met and did weird stuff. But yeah, it was. I remember I was 3 or 4. That's how young I was when I attended.
Okay.
It. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you're talking about people who blindly follow things, I've seen it happen. And you've seen it happen probably in the martial arts community. Master so-and-so said it. It's got to be true.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you're familiar with McDojo Life.
Sure.
And how he follows, or he posts all the chi videos and all that kind of stuff. It was funny because he's never roasted me, and he reached out to me on Instagram. I can't remember the dude's name. I think it's Rob or something like that. Please forgive me. But it's, we had an honest conversation about Kyusho, and if it's not practical, I'm not going to teach it.
Sure.
And that's my stance. Now, have I been knocked out from a no-touch knockout? Yes, I have. I have felt it.
Oh, wow.
Is it and I think it was about 15 feet away.
Okay.
It was on video, but I never got a copy of the video. I wish I did, but that's beside the point. But is it combat applicable? No. Am I going to teach it as a regular class? No. Am I going to play around with it?
Sure.
Sure. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, like, we take, and this isn't a knock on McDojo Life, but when we talk about McDojos, just in general, or even, people who hand out belts or study thing that maybe something that we consider as bullshit.
Sure.
Because it's like, oh, okay, well, that's a sport. Well, actually, no. Some of the sport stuff
Is
be
applicable.
pretty applicable, and it's just like, it's based off of what our personal, views are. So when it comes to martial arts, I do try and be very, very open. But where I was trying to go with this is like traditional karate that teaches sword forms. Okay. I mean, I mentioned carrying a bolo, earlier. I think that's more practical than carrying a samurai sword.
Yeah.
And say in today's, like right now,
just getting it out of a car.
Just getting it out of the car. So, but why do we teach that? Why would we teach a sword form, or why do we? It's not combat applicable to the times that we are now, but we still teach it. And it could, but I think it's based on how we teach it. So it's like this, we do this because it's traditional, it's part of our system, blah, blah, blah. If I was going to teach or, play with the no touch stuff, it's the same thing. It's like, okay, so, we've done, we all have this bioelectrical energy. Let's try and play with it, but be very open. Is it combat applicable? No. I mean, now if that's the only thing you studied day after day after day, I mean, at one point in my life, I did openly say, and I'll say it again because I kind of on the edge. I do believe that people have the potential of becoming contemporary Jedi.
Okay.
But it would take that training in that one thing day after day after day with different people. Because when I did episode 100 of Knockouts, I interviewed David Hogan of Hogan Karate International, and we talked about the no touch, and when pressure points, they work at 100% of the time on 80% of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no touch, it's even less. Mm-hmm. It's like, I can't remember the figure, but it's very, very, I mean, like you can cut those numbers almost in half.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's why, because it doesn't work on everybody. And so, you have these videos of these, these masters, and maybe the person is susceptible.
Correct.
I was susceptible to a no touch, but then again, I also believe that it's possible. So does it work because I believe, mm-hmm. or does it work because I'm susceptible? And so you take these, these chi masters that are doing their stuff that McDojo Life, likes to promote, which I watch. I think it's funny. In fact, I actually supported his Indiegogo when it comes to him making a documentary on this stuff. So, because I'd like to see what he comes up with.
Sure.
And I am against the McDojos in general. I don't believe people should get belts. I'm totally of the skill is ranked type thing.
The belt system is pretty new as far as in martial arts community. Let's face it, we're talking the 1940s, right? I mean, pretty recent as far as martial arts goes. So not even 100 years old. What, 80 years?
I don't know exactly the year. I know that it was judo that started it. Okay. And then karate took over from that. Because even if you look at the judo gis and the karate gis, I think Funakoshi, and forgive me, I can't pronounce the judo dude's name, but Funakoshi, he took that from him and was like, hey, that's a great idea. I think we'll use the same type of gi tops, the same belt rankings or the same belt colors, and then of course then it expands and different schools, but. It's like, to get ranked under me or to get a belt, you got to actually prove that you know it.
Sure.
Which I've had parents go, oh, well, my kid been studying for a couple months and you haven't given. It's like they have not shown any initiative.
Sure.
And I have attempted to. Sure. They've learned things here and there, and I've given them, it's like, oh, you've learned your kata, great. Here's a stripe on your belt, and try to encourage them, but they, there's no initiative.
Did you see the Family Guy episode where there was like a cutaway where Peter's a purple belt and he's fighting against a black belt little girl and he just knocks her out and the crowd goes boo, and it's like, oh, boo you! It's just a little girl. What do you expect?
I had not seen that. That's funny.
It just lays her out, just because he's 150 pounds more than her, and she's a little kid.
Right.
But yeah, I think a lot of times I met a gal. She studied for 2 years at a place, and it was a contract place. And basically, she said by the time that they were done, the kids were crying. They did not want to go anymore. But she was like, "We're paying $100 a month for each. You're finishing this," and she couldn't get out of a wrist grab. That says a lot.
Yeah.
That says a tremendous amount. And she'd been there 2 years. She got her black belt, and she couldn't get out of a wrist grab. I'm like, what? I mean, that is, pick your system. That's pretty basic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Mm-hmm. It is. And what it was they did a lot of kata, and kata's important, but you need practical physical interaction too. You have to, because otherwise you don't test what you do. Was that a good punch? Was my footing proper? All of that.
And like even somebody asked me, do you spar? And it's like, well, what's your definition of sparring?
That's a good question.
It's it's like, okay, so we spar my version of sparring is, okay, so punch at me and I'll do whatever my technique is. My sparring traditional sparring is you're bouncing and you punch, and it's like, okay, that is good for timing. There are
applications.
There's applications for it. I've done the whole you put a paper clip on the person's shirt. And then, not a paper clip, but a closed clip. Okay. And then, you have to go in and grab the clip. That's the goal.
That's cool.
And so it's like, okay, how is this person going to defend dynamically about these arms coming in?
Sure.
And so I've done that, but I don't consider that sparring. Sparring is, this close quarter, hands-on, whether the person steps in and punches at you.
Right.
It's the more realistic.
Sure.
And, some people may say that might be randori, but it is, give it a name, it is what it is.
Sure.
But, when it comes to that traditional, okay, I'm going to hit you and I'm going to get a point.
Right.
I don't do that kind of sparring because that's not, it's not practical for me.
Yeah.
There's other drills that we can do that can create timing. And I know people will disagree on me, and that's fine.
Sparring
that's
can
their
also
opinion.
teach some very dangerous. There was a karate match I went to back in this was the late '80s, and literally a guy won by hitting the other guy on the top of and that was and it was basically it was a couple of black belts, and the other guy kept getting points, but nope, that was too hard. Nope, and basically because the one guy who was the favorite son, basically he was the son of the big karate promoter of the tournament, so they wanted him to win, and it was just, and of course he's jumping up and down all excited and everything. It's like, are we drifting into self-delusion here? Because if everybody tells you you're great all the time, that's dangerous.
Right.
Yeah. We're all flawed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had this potential new student. He keeps on saying he wants to come, but and he's come over and we've talked, but there's not been any action yet, and that's fine. I don't mind talking to people, and it's if he really wants to do it, he'll come. But he taught. He studied for several years at a dojo. I can't remember exactly where it was. Not in Portland, in South, but. Okay. But anyway, so he got his black belt and all that kind of stuff, and he's like, I've gotten beat up on the street and several times, but nothing I learned was practical.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I was
that
like,
sucks.
it's and it was situations where, he has situational awareness, but it was situations that he couldn't get out of. And I didn't delve for more information, but it's like, okay, well, if he's had this unfortunate experience, then you'd think that if you've been studying for many, many moons and you've got a black belt around your waist, that even if it's a first degree, you should have some type of basic self-defense skills.
You should be a fighter among men.
Yeah, and even like I've come to figure out, and this is kind of as I've gotten older, because the mystique of when you're younger, ooh, it's a black belt,
right?
Oh, that's what I want to. Yeah. But the longer you're in martial arts,
the less that means.
A black belt's the beginning. All the colored version, all the colored levels that's foundation, and the real learning comes after that. But even if you're a black belt, there should even the foundation should give you some type of real self-defense where you can you may get a couple punches in on you, but you're going to get a couple punches in on them too, and be able to walk away in one piece. So,
I think that like how long have you been doing martial arts?
Let's see. I was 18 when I started, so almost 30 years. I'll be 48 this June.
Okay. So you've been doing it almost 30 years.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you were your first year student and somebody was a 4-year student, was there a big gap between your skill sets and theirs?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if somebody has been training, say, 27 years or 26 years versus what you've been training, could there conceivably still be, there's less likely to be as big of a skill gap if let's just say they've been doing the same art, everything like that.
Right.
Because, time becomes a little bit different over that amount.
Right.
And I think that when people think when they first get a black belt, it's like, oh yeah, he's been doing this for, you pick a number. Some people get it in 2 years, some people get it in 6 years. It just depends.
Right.
But over the decades, that time percentage shrinks drastically. And as we learn new things, technology is also changing how we train.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I think Dan Anasano talked about in one of his seminars that they take their shoes off and they use those as focus mitts.
Oh.
Yeah. That was
Cool.
that was
Yeah.
that was what they had. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, and even in the time that we're living in right now,
Mm-hmm.
like, with this COVID thing, there's a lot of the schools are using different, online tools to stream classes.
Yes.
And some of the Facebook groups I'm part of have, people are like, oh, okay, well, I'm having lots of success, and they're showing
Right.
all their success. But then there's some that they're not prepared at all.
No,
And they
no.
don't, they're not, and then they start freaking out saying, oh my gosh, there's, what are we, we want our students to be able to, learn practically. And, now you're just telling them it's okay to be learning online or from video. And it's like, well, it's not bad to learn from video. I've learned quite a bit from video,
Sure.
but it's also important to instill that in your students that, yes, during the next 6 to 8 weeks, you're going to be learning from video, whether it's YouTube or stuff that as an instructor I put up online.
Right.
Like even for me, I've gone on my site, I have online materials for my students as supplemental reference. But none of that can compare to actually putting hands on somebody.
Yes.
Because you might be able to learn a kata from video. I mean, that's how when I first got into Ruku Kempo and my instructor at the time was like, okay, we've got all these videos from George Dillman, and he's got all these katas, and we need to learn all of them, and I was assigned Basai, which I just absolutely love that kata, and so he gave me tape 8, and I learned it so I could teach the group, and that's how we all learn the kata. I learned it, I taught it to my group. But how did we learn the self-defense that came out of it? By touching each other.
Yep.
It's like, so yeah, you can learn movements on video or from live stream or whatever, but you don't actually learn until you actually touch somebody.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to get your hands on different size people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever look up United Weapons Masters?
It sounds familiar, but I don't.
They tried to put something
so.
together back in 2016, which was like a version of the UFC where they wore armor, but what it was the armor recorded damage. So it was either weapons or hand to hand. And so, like, if you got hit in the head, because they wore full face helmets, their computer system would record was that a kill, versus the amount of pressure, was that just a glancing blow, things like that.
I seem to remember something like that.
And once again, that's technology coming into play, but that's, if they can ever get that down, that would be a game changer for all of us, because right now we can only go so far in a training environment safely.
Right.
Otherwise, somebody starts losing an eye or getting their teeth knocked out. It just happens. Yeah, I heard a story once about a guy who broke his tooth off another guy's cheek in class, and so they had to take it out with pliers.
Oh my God.
Yes, this was back in the day. It was it was a different world.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a different world. I would probably introduce a term that I don't know if I've heard it mentioned before, but I'll put it out there: alternative martial arts. You have alternative medicine. Why couldn't you have alternative martial arts where you're exploring fringe concepts like no-touch masters?
Right.
But there may be something to it that technology can help facilitate. You ever heard of gamification?
No.
That's a term I heard at a seminar back in 2018, and basically they're using technology to turn training into a game where they'll use like an accelerometer and a pad, and you hit it, and either you try to beat your own score or you try to beat your partner's score as far as how hard you hit or how fast. Like, it tells you to go, and it records how long it took from the time it gave to the time it stops. It's just like a stopwatch.
Right.
They're using that for Alzheimer's patients, where they'll hold like a blue stick in one hand and a red stick in the other, and it'll come up, and they'll have to punch. Sorry, it'll have to move. And literally, a lot of these people, they're just moving like this because that's their range of motion because of their age and their disabilities. But it's like, how fast are they recording? The red or the blue concepts, and this is they turned it into a game, so it's not so laborious and dull. Because how many times have you seen people like, oh God, I'm going to sleep in here. We're doing the same stuff we've been doing for 5 years, and
Yeah.
It's yeah.
You know, I had a thought. Well, I'll go with this other thought. So, you know, when it comes to, I'll admit I suck at creating repetition, as in like, you know, okay, because I like the gamification. You're turning it into a game. It's something that, you know, you can teach the same movement over and over again, but different ways. So, you know, it's disguising the repetition. So I suck at disguising repetition. And, you know, let's take the way that Bram Frank teaches. Okay. You know, we all start off with 1-4-12 and then we kind of go off from there. It doesn't take that long to learn 1-4-12. And, for the most part. And so, you know, it's, and even in my own classes, somebody can get the rudimentary movement down to 1-4-12 in about a 40-minute class, or even, let's even break that down even further into like 25 minutes of instruction.
Sure.
Okay. So you take a 45 to 50-minute class, you know, you got all your warm-ups and your talking and blah, blah, blah of actual time working. Somebody can get it down in about 25-ish minutes. Okay. And then of course, you know, you repeat that, you know, you repeat that the next class. So I came, you know, I know people had been reaching out to Bram to ask, say, hey, you know, what about, you know, do you have any like programs? Like, you know, I need like a guideline to teach, you know, your stuff for like 6-8 weeks or whatever. And so I actually came down, and I know he said he has it, but he hadn't been able to find the paperwork. So I was like, okay, well, let me take what I know and let's put together a 9-week program. Okay. And so I kind of put it together, and I reached out to Dan Anderson and I showed it to him. We talked about it, and he looked at it. He said, okay, well, this is great, but you're teaching pretty much everything in 9 weeks. And Bram stuff is pretty simplistic, you know, at least the movements, the concepts, and, you know, pretty much almost anybody can get it. And in my experience, yeah, you know, but when you look at these schools who want long-term students, it's like, okay, well, you know, there's the gimmicks.
Yes.
Let's turn stuff into repetition and all that kind of stuff. So like, you know, a 6-week, you know, turning it into a 4-week program or a 6-week program, and they only do 1-4-12. And then maybe, you know, well, maybe you might have to throw in another one if you throw in like switch points or decision points. But and I was like, okay, well, you know, that's not too bad. But it's like, okay, so 1-4-12, you can teach that in one class, maybe 2. It's like, how do you like even thinking, how do you disguise that repetition? And Dan, you know, Danny and I were talking. It's like, yeah, he was like, I kind of suck at it. And I was like, I know I suck at it, because it's like, because at the seminars, it's easy. You just learn it, and we go on to something new, and then we go back and go review it, and it's the great way to learn. But it's because the system really isn't set up for a school. It's set up for a seminar or a certification training. And so that has been that's been a challenge, because I put together this 9-week program, and I shot video that supplements what Bram had already done, but I hadn't really promoted it because I was like, okay, well, you know, Dan is right in a way, because we're giving everything in one shopping cart.
The first thing
in 9 weeks.
The first thing I would think is, first of all, okay, 1-4-12. You ever heard of the story, the study on heroin addicts and the overdoses? Okay.
Which study?
Basically, they found that if somebody shoots up heroin and they do it in, let's just say it's a bathroom, okay, that's where they shoot up. If they take that same amount of heroin and they do it in a park or in a bowling alley or someplace else, a lot of times they'll OD the exact same amount, because the body says in the bathroom, oh, this is where we do our drugs. A lot of people, when they train in a very familiar environment constantly, and so the body says, oh, this is where we do that drill. If you take that same drill and you're like, okay, now we're in the parking lot, or we're at the park next to the guy talking to the garbage can.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, it's Oregon. But then the body's like, wait, we're doing this here now? And it's the same drill, but it feels different. If you're used to, back in the old days, we did barefoot carpet. That's what we did.
Okay.
And we wore gis. Oh, we're wearing street clothes. We're wearing our shoes, and we're outside, and it's concrete. That feels different. The drill's going to feel different.
Right.
Because the texture's different. The sounds, the traffic, the people, all of it's different. So if you take the same drill and you move it to multiple locations, okay.
And that's why I think I love this.
Yeah.
Because you've created multiple locations
in one spot.
In one spot.
Yeah.
You know, because you have, I don't, what kind of mats are these?
These are stall mats. I get these from Wilco. They're cheap.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are great mats. You can use your shoes on them. You have carpet.
Yep.
I don't know what you have upstairs, but you could.
You got some office spaces up there, but yeah.
Yeah. And you've got this. So yeah, I think you've created that.
Yeah.
That great environment.
I'd like to get more, and we're also going to be getting lightsabers at a certain point because you
Why
can do
not?
the exact same drill with a lightsaber, and all of a sudden it's a very different vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because why not? And also we'll get the nerds that way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't know if are you familiar with the LARP community?
Yes.
Yeah. I had a couple of their guys come in and we talked and we tried to set something up and they just fell off the radar. And this was like literally like a month before all of this craziness happened. It's like,
Right.
Because I said, why don't you come on in? We'll do a free thing and just bring your people and play, and then we'll figure it out afterwards. Mm-hmm. And nothing. Didn't hear from them. Nothing.
Wow.
And I even shot him a message on Facebook. I'm like, what's going on? I haven't heard nothing. And I'm like, what happened? Because you guys are meeting at a park. Mm-hmm. Come inside out of the cold and play in a different environment. Why not? And I showed him the walls. I had him walk around and everything. I have no idea to this day what happened.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a concept that was too foreign. Kind of like I've noticed with people that if you show a side of yourself to them that they're not comfortable with, you will lose friends in some cases. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's just say, for instance, you were a closet nudist.
Yeah.
Okay, and now this may be different with women than men. I can't say, but some of them wouldn't be able to handle that.
Oh, I totally understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just that. I mean, how many friends did you lose when they found out you did martial arts?
Oh, I don't know. I don't really have a lot of friends.
But
then again, I'm kind of an asshole too.
Well,
so, but yeah, no, I totally understand. If there's, I can't think of an analogy, but I get it. Mm-hmm. I get it. It's like I remember in college I had a writing instructor. English instructor, and he's like, yeah, when I go to parties, I don't tell people that I'm an English teacher because they automatically will walk away, or the conversation will become more awkward because they think I'm going to start critiquing their English.
Right.
Or
or somebody's a psychologist, same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, there's some cops that I know. It's like, yeah, I don't tell anybody that I'm a cop because they're it's like, oh, I sped on my way here. He's going to give me a ticket. So, but yes, I totally, I get that. I totally get that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I really lost any friends.
Well, like, okay, you were 18
for
when
martial arts.
You said you were 18. You had a circle of friends,
right?
And a lot of them, because you started a journey that you started going one direction and they were going in a very different direction. And
True.
It may not be anything bad necessarily, but yeah, he's really interested in that bush. Wow. You know what? I didn't lock the door.
That's okay.
Okay.
This is, I don't know if this is going to end up on video or not, but. Oh. Picture of his ass crack. Okay, so
well,
when it comes to using that, how many friends did I lose when I got into martial arts? I did. I had a small group of friends. We actually called us the us dudes, or it was like us dudes, and high school friends.
Sure.
But I did have my what I considered my best friends. one of them I completely lost touch with later on. The other guys, I don't know. I just kind of attributed it to we just grew up. We grew apart. We got different interests. My best man, I haven't talked to him, I don't know how long.
Wow.
But we just grew apart. Okay. But I've gotten new friends and different friends.
Sure.
And I'm still friends with one of my friends that was part of our group, and I reach out. I wish him a happy birthday every year, but he rarely ever
reciprocates,
responds.
Yeah, and it's like,
and I don't know why.
And you literally have to wonder. It's like, well, you're not asking for resources or anything. You just say hi.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
And that's too much trouble.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
And and it's funny that you mentioned the LARP community because he's actually a LARPist. And he talked me into going to one of his little friends. He did, what is it? Like some vampire thing. But,
okay.
And he's like, oh, he says, tonight I want you to play my master or whatever. And I was like, cool, whatever. And it was fun, but it was not my cup of tea.
Sure.
So, but I was like, hell, fuck,
sure.
I'll do it for Tony. I don't give a shit,
Sure.
So it was, it was fun. But it's funny that you mentioned that because I was like, oh yeah, no, I totally been there. Plus I've also thought of, you got we've mentioned McDojo, but the martial artists.
That's true. I like that.
It's the same type of
now you've seen LARPers fight with swords. And you're like, I see what you're trying to do, but it ain't, but yeah. And because, how they score points is very literally, it's like, that actually wouldn't be a cut. That's just, your, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, what was that movie? Oh shoot. Paul Rudd was in it.
I heard about that one. I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, dude. It's funny.
I've heard that. I've heard that's funny.
It's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
I just can't remember the title.
I heard about the part with the one Asian guy is he's like the king and they're like bowing to him at the Denny's and.
Oh yeah, was it Dr. Ken or Dr. whatever? He's one of the comedians. Yeah. No, he's. It was. It was good. No. Well, that's just like knowing part of something. I had let's see, what was it? It was last May. Mark Klein came out and we did. He wanted to go down to. We did a seminar and then we went down to Mardi Gras.
Okay.
Was it Mardi Gras? No,
I've never been to that.
Anyway, he wanted to go downtown Portland. I was like, "Are you crazy?" But anyway, so he went down there, and it wasn't Mardi Gras. It was Cinco de Mayo.
Oh,
that's
okay.
what it was.
Okay.
So I was like, "Sure, why not? We'll go down there." And we run into J.P. Spears, the long-haired. He's a comedian, but he does the ultra spiritual, the parodies. Right. And Mark and I are walking up the street, and I'm like, "Oh, you're that guy." And he goes, "JP?" I was like, "Yes." So I was like, "Yeah, it was," and he was pretty cool. But it's one of those where it's like, okay, I know part of this. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to that movie, I just can't remember what the title is. But yes, super funny.
Yes.
I'll put it in the comments when I figure that.
You'll be driving home, you're like, oh, right, that's what it was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that definitely. I think that if we can make this fun, it's more likely people will do it. Because none of us want to do something that's grindingly dull or painful without seeing an end result.
Which is different than how it kind of used to be almost. Because like for me, it took me, I don't know, 7-ish years to get my black belt.
Okay.
But I mean, training was tough.
Yeah.
I have a scar right here from sparring in Taekwondo, and it was even Dan Anderson. I think he said it took him, I don't know, couple, maybe 7-ish, 8
There's
years.
A lot of places you just show up and you just get it.
Yeah, and I think he actually said he failed his first time. So it was one of those where it's like, but we bled, we got bruises. It was, no, this is the culture of martial arts.
Sure.
This is something I want to study. This is something I'm passionate about. And so, nowadays, people, I want to study martial arts, but I don't want to get hurt. And I
think there is that crowd, but there is also the crowd that this doesn't suck enough. Why isn't this harder?
Yes.
There's that demographic too. There was a cartoon I saw once, and it was the army, and they're standing in the rain, and they say like, this sucks, and then they show the Rangers, and it's raining, and he's like, I like the way this sucks. And then they show the Navy SEAL guy, and he's like, I wish this would suck more. And then they show like the Air Force guy, and he's like, sure sucks down there. And then they showed like the Navy guy, he's like, no chocolate milk, this sucks. So I mean, you have these different demographics where it's really, I mean, if you cater just to one group,
right,
you are going to lose 4 or 5 other types of demographics. It just depends on what you're looking for. Now, I attended a school in San Antonio, 30,000 square feet.
That's a big school. Oh my gosh.
500 members go through there a day. It's
wow.
It's the Krav school, and Pete Hardy is the guy that runs that school, and $65 a month is what he was charging. And this was a couple years ago when I went there, and they had multiple rooms, so you could go and take a judo class or a fitness class or a Krav class. They were all going on at the same time.
Okay.
There was a gym, and I'm like, this place is huge. They even had a fuselage built inside, and you found out real quick you don't want the window seat because you can't get to the bad guy. You just can't. And they had an area that was set up with rooms, and there was a couple cars even, so you could like if you wound up on the hood of a car, how do you deal with it?
Right.
But it was this was stuff that it was really. I mean, most schools they'll never. I mean, this is 3,500 square feet total. That's including the office space up there. There's things I can't do here. I just can't because there's not logistically enough space.
Right.
There's a lot of schools that don't have 16 feet of clearance because
you've got a huge ceiling.
Great, because now I can teach staff because otherwise you can't. If you have 8 feet, you're tearing a hole through the whatever material is going to be up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, or knocking out a light. So this allows more flexibility. I'm amazed at how many schools don't have air conditioning, but it comes down to budgets.
Right.
It's just budgets, and it's like I was training at a Muay Thai place in Portland, and they had this huge fan, and I'm like, it was so hot that day, and it's like, yeah, we turn that on when it gets above like 105.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm just kind of dizzy, and because we would do Muay Thai, and then we'd do stick afterwards, and when you're already hot and like kind of depleted, you have to be more focused so you don't clock somebody with a stick.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just, and control didn't always happen, but I think that if we can expand our imaginations, and that's really what I try to teach is like, okay, what's the thing that usually I didn't expect that. I didn't imagine that a certain bad thing would happen, and then it does. Is because it was outside of your imagination, kind of like a deer in the headlights. It doesn't imagine that whatever this thing is with these glowing orbs that's moving at a high rate of speed, what is that? Boom, they get run over.
Right.
And so when we train, a lot of us, and I'm guilty of it too, A, B, C, D, these are the things we deal with. But when we change environments or we change the angles even a little bit, it's like, oh, wait, that doesn't work so well. That escape doesn't work so well if we're in a corner versus in open space.
Right.
So, and it's like, okay, if it doesn't work, we need to fix it, explore it, and not worry about looking bad because you have the belt on. Like, I don't have belts here.
Right.
You just show up and you just do it. You wear your street clothes, good enough. Because I don't want to have to keep track of it, and it's just, it. I think for a lot of people, it appeals to a sense of them that isn't so good. Some people can handle belts and they're great. Some people use them as an excuse to stop training. I got my black belt. I don't need to do this no more.
Yeah. That doesn't work. That's not how it works.
No, it isn't. There was a guy that trained at a place that I was training at before, and basically he was in a wheelchair. He did it for 6 months and he quit. Oh, I know enough. Like, you're in a wheelchair. it's already going to be harder because you're in a wheelchair.
Right.
Yeah. And just people's sense of all kinds of, well, I've achieved a certain rank, or, they don't associate with people who aren't it's cliquish. I've seen that too. So yeah, I try to make sure that everybody, works together, because you need different body types. We have a very small group right now. Hopefully it'll expand. In a way, either I pick the best time to open a school or the worst time to open a school. I'm not sure yet which is going to be. Okay, not including my school, which is not yet listed on Google for some reason, because you can type in Salem, Oregon Martial Arts. You're not going to find my school.
Right.
There are 18 places that are listed.
Okay.
Now, how many of them will be open still after this is the real question.
Right.
Because they could have fantastic instructors, and some of them genuinely do. But most of us in the martial arts community live in squalor. Mm-hmm. I mean, genuine, just this shy of going under.
Right.
Yeah. And, I mean, these are people with mad skill sets, but there's not a lot of money in this. We do this because
we love it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is, like, for me, I have a 40-hour gig. Yeah. Because I have a mortgage, I have a family.
Right.
We need health care, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And, I've always, now that my kids are a little bit older, it's like, okay, my wife is back to work and she's working. Sure. And it's like the minute that we can get health care through her for a low cost, I'm quitting. I'm cashing out my 401k, and I want to go to a brick and mortar.
Yeah,
what? I get people I've known forever. It's like, don't do that. Your dojo in your house is awesome. Just keep it that way. You have low overhead, but I'm limited to
what you can do.
I'm limited to the number. So I've had 10 people in there before at once.
How crowded is it?
It's a little crowded. I do have a backyard, so we can move into the backyard
when it's not raining.
When it's not raining, and of course we're in the Pacific Northwest, so it rains
all the time.
Most of the time, yes. So it's like, no, okay, so it's picking that right time when to do it. Yeah. Now, I honestly have not looked at my 401k because one of my buddies lost $400,000 in just a couple days. But it's like it's like I focus. I have my 40-hour gig. I have my school. I have my shows.
Sure.
And it's finding that right time.
Yeah.
And so I hope that all the schools remain. And there because there's been a couple, like on some of the online forums. It's like, well, I'm not going to charge my students if I can't provide them content. That's one camp. And then the other camp is like, he's like, well, even if I'm only able to provide online content, or if I'm not able to provide them any content at all, it's like, there's the camp. It's like, I'm still going to pay my instructor so he can live or she can live.
Right.
So when this pandemonium is over with, I still have a school to go to. And I think that camp is a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
I like that camp, support your local small business, which is great.
Bills have to be paid at the end of the day.
But there are those people that are unfortunately going, and it's not just martial arts schools, it's like
everyone
business in general.
Yes, yeah.
They're
not going to be here.
They're not going to be here anymore.
Yeah.
And that is sad. But yeah, I mean, going on the topic of did you open your school at the right time? I mean, unfortunately, there's probably going to be one or two schools closed.
Oh, I perceive.
I'm trying to be optimistic.
I know. If my guess is if this is 3 months, okay, let's just say, because right now as we're filming this is March. This is mid-March.
Right.
Okay. Let's just say we wander into June.
Right.
Okay. Somebody's already going to be gone. Mm-hmm. And now if we wind up going into September, a lot of people are going to be gone.
Absolutely.
A lot. Now, that will create a huge, not just with martial arts, but with restaurants and everything else, a huge power vacuum. Somebody's going to fill that. Mm-hmm. And they're going to clean house.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean, like, I don't know how schools are going to do in Vancouver. Mm-hmm. I know, I'm still teaching privately, just because it's one person. And I was telling a martial arts buddy of mine, I can probably get away with it because my dojo's in my garage.
Right.
I don't have big windows that people can walk by and go, oh, you're less than 6 feet away from each other.
Right.
You know, but he's like, yeah, I have a whole wall of windows. But, you know, and right now, it's 10 people. Some people say it's 5. But, you know, groups.
The rules keep changing.
The rules keep changing. And, you know, Oregon, maybe even Washington might turn into, no, we're just not, you know, like what they're doing in California, or even specifically the last I heard was San Francisco, where it's like you can be out, but you have to either be going to get gas, going to work, go to the grocery store.
I can see a large of that being unenforceable.
Well, I think when I first heard it, I heard that it was going to be unenforceable,
Right.
but it's one of those where it's like, you know. What is it going to be? Is it a misdemeanor? I mean, I saw some picture. I didn't have a chance to read the article, but I saw some picture with the tagline says that, you know, some guy under quarantine in Australia was getting beaten by cops because he refused to stay quarantined.
Well, then now aren't they going to catch whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. All I know is that traffic is great right now.
Traffic's great. Okay, there will be different kinds of crime.
Yeah.
Probably there will be more domestic because people are cooped up together. I've heard that the divorce rates in China have shot through the roof.
Ooh.
Because husbands and wives, for a lot of people, their job is their escape, and their spouse is glad to have them go. Boyfriend, girlfriend, same thing. Now, I could also see you're cooped up with relatives and stuff, and if you have underlying issues that if you have underlying issues that are not resolved. I mean, let's face it, some people you can't stand to be there for Thanksgiving.
Right.
Yeah. Now, that being said, other kinds of crimes probably will be dropping. Probably. Well, first of all, a lot of the shops are closed, so robberies are going to be down in certain regards. There'll probably be less stranger sexual assaults, things like that, because
people are staying home.
And also the whole no contact with a stranger thing, because that affects both parties. But I have heard of a home invasion gang that's dressed like CDC.
Oh, I got the same notices. Yeah.
And they're, so for those who don't know, tell them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I got basically through the neighborhood app, I guess there's people going around saying they're with the CDC or the census, and they're going in and saying we have permission to do mobile testing, but then they come in and they rob you. And just that the mobile testing is not a thing.
No.
Like if you're going to get tested, there are mobile stations. Like I know that you said that the military setting one up at the fairgrounds.
Turns out that's not for testing.
Oh, really?
That's not even for Kung flu. It's for people who are sick with something else that the hospital can't treat.
Oh, okay.
I just found that out this morning.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be for overflow of all the people because it's an open bay and everybody's in the same room.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and there's no privacy.
Well, HIPAA goes out the window. A lot of our laws have gone out the window. But at the hospital that I work at, I mean, they're taking precautions. They actually shut down an open parking lot because they're putting in mobile testing. Basically, you come through to get tested, and their employees are priority. But anyone who wants to get tested can go through, and they'll take your temperature and do a swab or whatever. Then they say, go home, self-quarantine.
This podcast is going to seem very dated in 6 months, hopefully.
Oh,
yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
I hope it is dated.
That'd be like, oh, yeah, we went to go see John Lennon in concert.
Off of the craziness that's going on.
Sure.
Or once the craziness stops, how do people get a hold of you? How if they want to train, be like, dude, Jason is so cool. Which I mean, you are.
Oh, thank you.
You have a great facility, but it's one of those. It's like how if I want to train with Jason, how does that happen?
Well, we're located in Salem, Oregon, and armorcombatsystems.com is our website. People can find out more about us there. We're basically Address is 1521 Hawthorne Avenue Northeast in Salem, right off the freeway. So come down and check us out. It's a pretty relaxed, open environment. So yeah.
Actually, it was pretty easy to find. I was like, oh, exit 256. I know that exit. Oh, there's the McDonald's. Oh my gosh, there's the school.
Yeah.
So it's actually pretty easy to find.
Yeah. Look for the big bear in the window.
Oh yes, very cool bear.
Yeah, that's actually a mascot that I've actually worn in the past. I got kicked out of Blackberry Diner wearing that once.
Did you lose a bet or something?
I was trying to entertain some people I knew at a thing, and the management we have our own mascot. And I'm like, they let me. That was me. I was politely asked to leave.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely come check us out, and we're open to exploration. In the future, like I said, we're going to be adding some of the parkour equipment, the lightsabers. We're also going to be adding the stress vests, where you get shot with the gun and it hurts and it lights up. That'll be later. I've got one of those right now. I have to send the magazine for it. Apparently is battery powered and is defective, so I have to send that back and get a new one. Otherwise, I would be using that now. Those are interesting. They have a range of about, I think, 75 feet.
Okay.
And basically, the magazine is CO2. You feed it in there, and and you wear the vest, and you can decide if it just lights up or if it shocks you, and also the intensity of the shock.
Okay.
So there's that, depending on how much you want to expand things. I would love to do something like that where everybody's wearing a vest like that in an active shooter seminar.
Oh my gosh, that would be awesome.
Right, because what happens if you don't move? You get shot. Because those are the people who always get killed. And like I've attended some, and I've helped teach some active shooter first aid seminars, and things like socks and T-shirts become very useful for stopping bleeding. But at the same time, doing that, where's the bad guy? Because if the bad guy's still in the room, you're not doing first aid, because otherwise somebody's going to have to be treating you.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Right on.
Yeah. But yeah, this was great.
So when somebody walks in the door, what are they going to expect? I mean, I know you said you're getting all these equipment. You've done kung fu.
Yeah.
You do modular knife.
Yep.
What's a typical class?
Typical class usually warms up with boxing.
Yeah.
So we'll throw on the focus mitts, and usually what we do different with boxing is you'll be fighting multiple people. So you'll have one or two guys holding focus mitts. You'll be in gloves. Maybe one or two other people will be in gloves, and you might get chased through the structure.
Okay.
And
cool.
you'll find out real quick that if you stay stationary with multiple people, it doesn't end well.
Right.
You have to be mobile. That is even if you don't know how to punch or kick properly, move your body, because you have to. It's harder to hit a moving structure. That's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we'll move on to knife. We'll do stick. We might do some staff, some hand-to-hand. Part of it is just what's going on with who's here. Is somebody struggling with something? Are there limits because of an injury or something like that? So, basically, I'm very, I don't do a lot of like, okay, this week we're going to do X. It's like, that depends on who comes in.
Right.
So, because maybe they're not ready for that.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're bored with that.
So basically, all classes are based on who attends.
Yep.
I mean, they're somewhat pre-planned, but it's like, oh, okay, you showed up.
Yeah,
Well,
we're doing
what I had planned here. This is
right.
This is what we'll do today.
And a day one person is going to be thrown in with somebody who's been doing something for a while, and I believe that people have the capacity. If you treat somebody like a child, they will mentally behave like one, and if you treat them like an adult, they will also behave like one.
Right.
And throw them in the deep end. It's up to the others to help them elevate.
Right on.
Yeah, don't lower the class for the new person. No, make them jump in the deep end and catch up. And I've had some good results with that. They've people who haven't done anything, and they leave with their mind blown in some regards. But then when they come back, it's a little easier. And my goal is to empty my tank and don't hold anything back. I really think you do your students a disservice when you do that, and I've seen schools that do that. And some of that comes from the Asian culture of like, well, what if they betray you or all this? I was like, Jesus Christ, people, don't do this. Okay,
Yeah.
It's not a kung fu movie.
Right.
Plus, that makes me better, because that means I'm like, oh, I have to go review my notes because I'm starting to show all the stuff I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, and did I show that right? Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm like, oh, nope, we got to change things. I showed it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's some, like, I had this one student, he basically came to me just for self-defense. And so I was like, okay, well, we'll just do modular, and then we'll do empty hand modular. And so some of the stuff that I'm doing with him, it's one of those where it's like, oh, I hadn't thought of this before until I'm in the moment.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so we could do this, and this is where my mind goes, but we could also do this. Let's see how practical this is. And and sometimes and like with Thomas, we do a lot of just kind of playing around to looking at practical versus non-practical, because he's been training with me for, I don't know, over a decade.
Oh, wow, cool.
Forever.
Cool.
But so training with him, we just kind of focus. But if I'm with training with somebody, even if it's a group, it's like, okay, my mind, I wanted to plan to go this way, but think I want to play around with. Let's see how many, is this easy to learn? Is it practical? And it's like, oh, no, it's not practical. Okay, forget everything I just taught you.
Let's move on to something else. Yeah.
And let's move on to something else. Yeah. It's like, okay, that didn't work. Oh well. And but yeah, I liked just throwing somebody in and helping them through. Yeah. And I think the environment. I just love this, and I love, and
I want to get more walls.
Yeah.
My goal is 3 times the amount. But that's going to take more time and resources, and I have to actually have more students than 4 paying students at the moment.
Right, right.
I'm grateful for the ones I have. I truly am. So, and like I said, it depends on what's going on. We might all be sheltered in place for a while. That means everybody gets their membership suspended until, because I haven't set up any kind of online courses yet.
Well, you have the videos that you've posted, which
Right.
kind of gives an idea of what people are doing.
True. But there are different types of scenarios. I want to film later. I don't have the I don't have the technical knowledge yet, and I don't have the numbers of people that I want to do for those or the financing. But I want to eventually choose your own, make your own decisions videos.
That's kind of cool.
I found a software program for that. Yep. And that opens up a whole new market, because now you have memberships for your people. And this is something that means that you have students all over the world.
Right. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And it can be as simple as, do I go left or do I go right? And then you film both consequences, and then based on what they click on their computer, it will take them down that consequence.
So it's almost like playing a first-person
video game with actual actors.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
I experimented a little bit with this with YouTube, because you know how they have you can click with the button, the windows.
Oh yeah.
The problem is that your video has to be a minimum of 25 seconds long, and in a life or death situation, that's an eternity.
Right.
That is an absolute eternity.
Right.
So.
Well, that's that's very true. Yeah, I'd like to see something like that.
Yeah, I'd like to put it together, and that at that point I wind up paying people to help me do it, and basically everybody at that point is actors, and that means they're talent, and we run through a scenario. It's like, even if somebody doesn't know how to train, they're just a background person for a certain effect, because in a life or death situation with a crowd, those people aren't going to know what's going on. They're just panicking and running in a certain direction. Great. We can get people to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that also means changing the setup in here a little bit more. But yeah, eventually working on that.
Right on.
Yeah. That's the goal. Hopefully at the end of this year, but we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We don't know. Yeah. That could all be moot. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But that way, like I said, people can shelter in place and still train, I guess, in a different way. But society, I have a feeling, might look a little bit different at the end of this year.
Yeah. I think, we've talked about, the changes. I don't know. I think I'm curious if people are going to yearn to be closer to people after not being able to
I can totally see that. Yeah.
Like being distant.
Yes.
Like Like making it a point to reach out to those people that are that they haven't seen in a while.
Well, imagine
and making it a point to get together with them.
Well, and the opposite's true. Like with if you force a bunch of people crammed together, the how they decompress will be to get away. It's like if you worked at a chocolate factory, the first 3 weeks would be great, and after they're like get that away from me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So
true. Yeah. Well, we're definitely into some change. Hopefully, I know some of it will be negative, but hopefully most of it will be positive.
They say if you want to make people stronger, take things away from them.
True.
And that's happening right now. So
True.
we'll see what that actually means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All right.
Jason, it's been an awesome
Thank you.
conversation.
Thank
I know
you.
we
Thank you
kind
for
of
doing
went
this.
here and there.
Thank you for doing this. Yeah, this is great.
I love your place.
Thank you.
I will definitely be back.
Great.
Just to play.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be
Just to
awesome.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, internet land.
Yep.
Like, follow, share, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I know you have YouTube.
I've got YouTube.
I'll put all
YouTube
those
and-
links on the
I've
bottom.
got YouTube and Facebook right now.
Okay.
I haven't done Twitter. I'm so old school.
I don't get Twitter. I
Don't either.
I have Twitter.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what the movie was with Vince Vaughn. He was, I don't twat. I was like, I love it. I absolutely love it. So, I have a Twitter. I don't really, it's linked to other stuff. So if anything gets posted up there, it's because something else gets posted.
Yes.
But I will put all of
you.
Jason's information in the blurb below. I'll put other things in the blurb below. But I thank you for hanging out this long.
Thank you.
I thank you, Jason, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
And we are out.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Awesome.